I know it's never a good idea to mention dates in videos, but clearly I'm at home, not on a golf course. So today we're going to look at things that you can do at home to improve your golf, even if, like I am, restricted with access to golf courses. So I'm probably about 6 weeks away from being back to coaching. So all my coaching online is online at the moment. But let's have a look at some of the things that you can do whether or not you have any restrictions on your access to golf or not, because there are a lot of things that you can do at home. You don't necessarily need a net, a golf ball, or anything like that, just to practice some of these things to either improve them or keep them familiar to you when you're playing. So the first couple of things that we'll look at are just with setup. So what I've done is I've marked my glove and I've marked my hands, and we'll have a look at some of the things that we can do first of all with grip and also with stance and posture. So when I'm holding the club with my left hand, I've got some lines across the glove here. Now when I place my left hand on the grip, those lines are going to run across the side of the grip there. So that when I close my hand and I come back to the front, I've got an arrow on my glove here. Now that's going to point, when I'm holding the club in front of me or when the club's on the ground, that's going to point to around about my right shoulder. Now I've also got another little dot on the top of the glove here. If you hold your hand out in front of you and just bend your wrist a little bit, you'll notice there's a little bit of a hollow on the top of your hand, just at the very base of your thumb, where your wrist and your thumb come together. We want that spot to be virtually right on top of the grip. So we don't want it to be around off to one side or the other on the grip, so right on the top. And a final thing with the left hand is that the fleshy part of my left hand here is actually sitting right on top of the grip. Now that's going to give me the most amount of support when I swing the club. So I can have a look at this either with marks on my glove, just copy what I've done, or I can look in a mirror or a window or something like that that's going to give me a reflection. If the grip feels different, then that's probably an improvement that you're about to make. With my right hand, I've got some lines drawn across the fingers here. You'll notice they're not straight across. The lines are going diagonally across my hand here. Those lines go right underneath the grip. Now, for most players, when they hold the club, they're going to hold it too much into the palm of the hand. So holding it much more in the fingers is going to feel unnatural. It's going to feel like it changes the balance of the club, and it's going to lead to probably less certainty about what's going to happen. However, because you're making an improvement, it's going to benefit your golf. Now, I've also drawn another arrow on my right hand, and again, the right hand arrow and the left hand arrow are both pointed to about the same place. So there's my grip. So when I'm just at home, I can practice taking my hands off, placing my hands back on the grip, and getting a feel for that correct movement. The other thing that you get at home is on unwanted walkthroughs. I'm not going to make big swings, so she's quite safe. So I can practice my grip. Now, the more times I practice that, the more comfortable I'm going to get with it. Now, let's have a look at some of the aspects of posture. So when I set myself up and I'm tilting forward, I want to tilt forward from my hip joint. And again, this is perfect time to look at your reflection to see whether or not you're actually standing and to the ball correctly. Now, a couple of drills. One is that I want to prevent my shoulders from being rounded. So if I can hold the club behind my shoulders, I get the feeling of my chest being open and my shoulders back. This is much more extreme than if you're going to, when you set yourself up to the golf ball. But if you find that it's quite difficult to get your shoulders back and then lean forward, then you may want to do a little bit of flexibility work through front of the chest and also through shoulders. A second good little drill to help practice the posture is if I hold the club behind my head here. So now my hand's touching the back of my head and my other hand is touching my belt line, and I've also got contact with the club around about between my shoulder blades, the middle of my back. Now, when I tilt forward, for the moment I'll keep my legs straight and I want to retain the contact with all 3 points. So as I tilt forward, if I lose contact with my head or lose contact with my lower back, then my back's likely to be too rounded when I address the ball. So I want to tilt forward and retain the contact with all 3 points. Then I can just unlock my knees and look to retain that posture as I bring the club forward. Again, if that movement feels strange, it might feel a little bit wooden, particularly if you've been rounded when you've been setting yourself up, then this is a perfect way to start to get used to that. Just by doing it in diving, Olympic diving, they call these things dry drills or dry land drills because you're not getting wet. We can use the same term because we haven't got a golf ball. We certainly haven't got a golf course, but at least I'm starting to familiarise myself with the feeling of being in those positions. Doing a lot of it can get a little bit boring, so do it in short bursts. You know, you might do it 2 or 3 times a day if you've got the opportunity to, and just work through the grip, you know, maybe 5 or 6 times each time. Same thing with the posture, working through that 5 or 6 times so you start to become more familiar with it. Make some little practice swings, some bigger practice swings so you start to get the feel of that. And you'll find that, like I said, when you get back onto the golf course or you're able to hit some golf balls, then that movement is going to feel a lot more familiar. And that's going to help us with the next steps in subsequent videos.